so weird when it goes like that. All right.
I don't know
Welcome
what
back
version you have.
to another episode of Roll Call. This episode is all about our boy, Mikey T, the Sockman, Mike Tauchman. How we doing? What do we think about Mike Tauchman, boys?
I don't know. I think that my personal opinion is that he's been a little bit sorry. I don't know what I'm talking about right now.
I'm personally a big Mike Tauchman guy. One of those Cashman finds diamonds in the rough. I mean, where did that guy come from? Also, not just a Cashman find, another steal we took from the Rockies. I mean, the Rockies have been just handing us over quality players. Him, Ottavino. Who else came from the Rockies? Still use another one. Regardless, he's 28 years old, had a pretty damn good year. Some were talking about him being the best Mike T in baseball for a little bit because his defensive run save numbers were among the best, if not the best, during whatever month that was. I'm a big Mike Tauchman guy. Lefty at the plate. What do you guys think?
I think that originally that I wasn't crazy about him because he did have average stats throughout most of the season. I think that a lot of us were blinded by, what was that month? Was it his July month where he hit over 400, almost 500, which was just ridiculous. And that's when a lot of people started coming after him saying that he was the best Mike T in baseball and that he was coming out and being the superstar on the Yankees organization and carrying the team, which was 100% true, especially for the month of July, and carry a lot of momentum. But I don't know. I think that the rest of the season is kind of blinded by that because if you take a look at, you have the month before that hitting 250, and then the month before that, which was in April, hitting 282, which is still decent. But again, I think a lot of us are blinded by that 1 month crazy run that he had.
Listen, I'm sure he's a nice guy. All right. I'm sure he's got a wonderful family. I think he's got a dog. Nice guy. But we, as an organization, are not in great shape if we're relying on Mike Tauchman. When he got, yes, he had a great July. He hit over 400, but he did that in 16 games. So it was like you had a hot, half a month, pretty much. Besides that, I mean, when he really got playing time in April and March, he was not good. He was not good in June in limited playing time. And then, the rest of the season, he was all right.
Yeah.
He's a good fourth outfielder, but just like, CeCe Sabathia was a great fifth starter. He is what he is. Let's not over glorify him because he robbed a home run.
Yeah. And honestly, that robbed home run, a lot of people were saying the easiest place to rob a home run is at Camden Yards because the fence is not very tall.
It's up to your waist.
However, his knees were at the top of the wall. So I'm going to give him that one no matter where it was. Maybe not the monster at Fenway, but anyway, I think him and as an outfielder, maybe the bat isn't obviously what it was just during July, but he did finish the season at 277. That's a better batting average than a lot of people on the team. Granted, he only played 87 games.
But I think that's overshadowed by that month, though. You take a look at what I was saying before, June and April, he batted below 200.
You're right.
It's below the Mendoza line.
Did he bat 400 during July?
July, he batted 423 to be exact.
Okay.
And the other 2 months below 200.
And that was only 15 or whatever, 16 games.
Yeah.
So it's not like he did that wow, he had 400 and he played 22 games.
And I hate to quote Murph over here, but the small sample size really is that 16 games. And if we're talking about a month where he had the most at-bats, which was in April, he had 62 at-bats. That's when he batted his lowest at 177. Not trying to stab him anyway, but I'm saying.
Oh yeah, we got to. Whether good or bad, we got to take these players apart.
I'm just saying. This is my take on him. I think that he was a great player in that month. He really drove the team. He was a huge part of the next man up.
Yeah.
The whole thing. But you got to look at the facts.
I think Mike Tauchman is similar to players like Gio, players just like that need to have another season of production and show what they've shown that they were good at, do it again. Like maybe Mike Tauchman isn't a hitter. Gio might not be a hitter also. But we know both of those players are actually more similar than I even thought because they're both very good defensively by their trade. That's what they are. So That's what Mike Tauchman's going to give you because that dude's an athlete. He'll play every one of the positions better than almost every player on the team aside from Judge. And Hicks was probably a better outfielder than him. But anyway, he's a top
So
three
better.
outfielder.
So he'll play better outfield than the bad outfielder.
Yeah,
It's
Right,
like, you know, a bad outfielder that hits 50 home runs when he's
But
healthy.
I'm saying, are we specifically talking about Stanton right now?
No, I'm just like, you know.
I don't know. I think his defensive run save numbers speak for themselves. Those numbers weren't a lie. Like he was actually getting more defensive run saves. I'm not looking at it right now. I'll actually look it up. But his defensive run save numbers were higher than every other outfielder in the game, up there with Mookie Betts, Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, all of them. And those are numbers that accumulate over time. Like having it, getting numbers that are that close to them in a shorter time span is more impressive. I get the small sample size, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Listen, I don't wish anything bad on the guy. And those are some great, like, advanced statistics that you gave me. If every outfielder is healthy, he's our 5th outfielder.
Who's number 4, you think?
Gardner.
I would agree with that 100%.
If everyone's healthy, he's the 5th outfielder.
And that's not a bad problem to have.
Yeah, but
Great.
and then Clint is a couple, months of showing, that he's gotten rid of the yips of last year when he couldn't catch a cold. And then, he skips Tauchman because of potential, age. The upside's much bigger.
See, that was another interesting storyline last year, because when Clint was on that cusp of coming up and we didn't know who was going to get called up for like the last roster spot and the 40-man and all that stuff, then Mike Tauchman gets the nod and we were like, who is Mike Tauchman? And then Mike Tauchman immediately has that 420 batting average in July. And that
immediately. We're talking 4 months later.
Yeah.
I forget when he got called.
Tauchman was on the opening day roster.
Well, all right, that's what I meant. I misspoke that. I meant he came up and then we didn't know who Mike Tauchman was, and then he's keeping Clint down that whole time. Like Clint didn't have an opportunity to come up.
No, Clint kept himself down. Clint kept himself down with his attitude. The impression he made on his teammates by not standing in front of his locker, and then he got the yips, and then the ankle. Any opportunity to get him out of there and get that distraction on while you're already trying to overcome injuries, you take.
Yeah.
So do you think if Clint doesn't do the off the field stuff, there's no Sockman?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think at a certain point, they're like, management is just like, we're kind of tired of dealing with this.
Yeah. That's a good point.
No, I definitely agree. I didn't even think about that. I mean, it's
where are we going to invest our time and energy? How much time and energy are you going to invest on the 25th guy?
And how much is he worth it with the amount he's producing?
Yeah.
So based on the stats last year and what we've obviously already ripped apart, because I thought this was going to be a nice Mike Tauchman episode, but turns out this isn't a Mike Tauchman.
It's nice. I said he's a nice guy. I think he's a dog.
He's got a dog too. He's got a good dog.
Too. So
there we go. Good for him.
What do we expect out of him this year? Obviously, the stats are a little bit different because we don't know how many games we're going to be playing. And obviously, he was going to have more of a shot to be a starter, honestly, had the season started at the regular opening day, March 26th, because obviously people were hurt. What do we expect out of him as a role and maybe stats after that?
Before we do that, are you guys like stat nerds?
No, not really. We're more
just good look at.
Okay. Yeah. Like I'm an eye test guy. Because there's not baseball, I haven't been looking up a lot of stats. I'm not a big stat guy on George's Box, but I looked up Tauchman stats, and they're doing on Baseball Reference simulated games.
Yeah,
they're simulating that right now. Mike Tauchman would be batting .350 with 5 home runs in 20 games. What the fuck what are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? Baseball.
Who are they playing? Are they playing the minor league Orioles for the whole month?
Well, I did play the simulations Out of the Park 21. Our friend, who's the Red Sox fan, he got us to download it. It's actually allegedly a really, really accurate simulation. So maybe they know something we don't about Mike Tauchman, but we do play the Orioles like 8 times in the beginning of that season, so that could be a reason.
Still, 350 is.
Hey, maybe he batted 400 one month. Why can't he bat 350 one month?
This is also saying Judge wouldn't be back yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
True.
Some interesting.
Where's he getting 20 games?
No, he was out in that simulation for like a month and a half. It was tough. It was tough to deal with. We were not doing well. The Rays were above us by a lot. I was down like 12 games. Not a good look.
Yeah. I think that, obviously a lot depends on playing time for sure. But if we're saying that he's going to be a regular utility guy playing with in and out of the lineup, I think he's going to have a very similar season than from what he did in that last month that he was healthy last year in August when he hit, about 270. He had, just in the month, he had 5 bombs and 18 RBIs. I think that's a more realistic stat line for him if he's playing throughout the entire season as a utility guy.
Yeah. I mean, I like Mike Tauchman as a depth piece, and obviously in a regular season there's 162 games. So him getting those spot starts when we're fully healthy, obviously we're never fully healthy. So he is actually a very important piece to this team.
I think he also falls into the Tyler Wade theory I have for young bloggers, podcasters. Tauchman seems like because we told it off air. I think that you guys are Tyler Wade and Mike Tauchman, and I think they are the same in the infield and the outfield. Like that, they are what they are. But they're young, they're good looking, and in the back of your mind somewhere, you think you can like drink with them. They're more approachable to get on your podcast, and like you think that could turn into like, oh, we're at the same place, or like some shit like that. It turns into DMs. Maybe it's not this year, maybe it's next year. You guys are getting a drink.
And you know what? I'm okay with that. So
yes,
if Mike and Tyler, if you're listening, we're open.
I think that's why it's like you guys, Hubs and Tommy Smokes, and then the John Boy guys. Like they love Tyler Wade and Mike Tauchman, the Sockman.
See, another thing, I agree with that, but I think on the to defend Tyler Wade is actually, yes, he's like that as well. But Tyler Wade is more – I know this isn't the Tyler Wade episode, but he also has so many tools that if he were to figure out the bat, that's why we're so excited about him.
If he could figure out the most important part of playing the game, it'd be
more than half of it.
I know. Yeah. And we always say that's –
If I could dunk, it would totally change my basketball game.
I mean, well, I'm saying he has the other – 3 tools that he can run he's the fastest runner I've ever seen. He's just a lightning bolt. He's
the fastest kid in his class.
Yeah.
And that kid has the most friends. That's why we want to drink with him.
Exactly. See?
It all comes together.
That's exactly
and
what
he's
it
good looking.
Yeah. He's a fucking cool guy.
Yeah.
So let's close out Mike Tauchman here. So JJ, what do you think we can expect out of Mike Tauchman this year?
He's a average player till Hicks comes back. Mm-hmm. If there's so there might be a season where Tauchman is on the roster because there'll be, I think, expanded rosters.
Yeah, which is, it's interesting that you said that when Hicks comes back, because Hicks might start the season whenever we start, if we start whatever plan they have, but midway through the year, if we miss, Hicks starts the season opening day, Tauchman doesn't have a place on the team. So yeah, honestly, the more and more we talk about Mike Tauchman, the less and less I like him, which is not a good. I liked Mike Tauchman, but anyway,
no, I think he's a great utility guy. I believe that on a lot of other teams, majority of the other teams in the league, he'd be a starter for sure. But we're the Yankees.
A majority of other teams in the league do not make the playoffs.
Yeah,
so
very true.
He'd be a starter,
but he'd be a starter. Yeah, but I think he'd be a starter on a lot of those teams, and that means he's just a great 5th, 4th outfielder, depending on who's playing and who's injured. And he's going to be a great utility guy and probably going to be a 270 hitter for the remainder, unless he goes off in another month.
Hey, 270 is fine with me, and he's a lefty bat. So if people get injured, which obviously the whole Yankees team is made of glass, I hope the last year doesn't happen or anything like it happens. But if something like that does happen, we have Mike Tauchman to plug and play as a lefty. Helps with the short porch home run numbers. I'm still a Mike Tauchman guy. I'll fight for him. Hopefully we can get a drink sometime. But
hopefully.
I'm glad he's on the team. Depth is never an issue. So unless you guys have anything else, I think that's the end of Mike Tauchman. Maybe honestly the end of his career because we just
Sockman.
Yeah, I just gave you every reason why his career is almost over.
All right, that was Mike Tauchman. Tune in next time. See who else we talk about. Let's go Yanks. All right, let's do Damin and that recording and start a new one.
Is that what you guys were looking for?